All right, welcome everybody. Good sized crowd today. Hopefully everybody's having a good morning. Welcome to my presentation on the project-based learning in higher education. Going to take about 30 minutes, guys, go over how this all works, and I'll give you guys a little goodie bag here, basically a little activity at the end that you can keep, a little basic way that you can utilize AI to help build your own project-based lessons within minutes. So we'll do that here at about 30 minutes past the hour. So I got about 35 slides to get through, so I'm going to try to get through them here as quickly as possible. And there's not too much on them. So I know how we don't like those slides with tons of information on them. So I'll go ahead and get started, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat or wait to the very end. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have about this kind of stuff. I have been teaching this stuff for a long time, by the way. Been 15 years in project-based learning education, certified through Duke, Auburn, University of South Carolina, University of Colorado. I've been with Project Lead the Way, teaching their biomedical science courses, certified for all four of those, which is the STEM leader for project-based learning around the country, around a lot of K-12 schools, and they have a lot of affiliations with a lot of universities for students to get college credit for a lot of those courses that they attend. So they're very upper level. I have to say the students that are doing those classes are doing high-end stuff, almost graduate level work in a lot of ways. So pretty cool in that program. But also with the project-based learning methodology, developed a lot of collaborations. I was one of the only instructors, the only instructor in Central Florida that had a connection with UCF med schools. I used to take my students over there, do tours, and they used to have the professors do presentations with the students and so on and so forth. They got a lot of behind the scenes perspective of what it was like to go to UCF med school, University of Florida lab tech program, local hospitals, parks, preservations, museums, etc. So there's a whole bunch. That's good to hear, Sybil. That's good. So yeah, so a whole bunch of different affiliations that you can do with project-based learning. So that's we're going to go over some of those things here today. So pretty cool things that you can do with it. And like I said, if you missed it when you first came in there, we're going to do a little activity. I'm going to give you guys a little handout that you can use to go ahead and build your own project-based lessons with whatever subject area that you do teach, or know somebody that's interested in this. You can give it to them even, or just it's like a simple printout really, where you can do this within a 15-minute time span and build whole entire lessons using AI basically to do that. So we'll do that here in the last 15 minutes of the presentation today. So what is PBL, project-based learning? It's basically just a way to help students engage in the material in a different way that's from your standard structured lecture per se, or even a lot of other classroom formats. In the past, before AI came along, I have to say it was very cumbersome and time consuming to develop these kind of things. But nowadays, it's relatively easy. I just did one last year. This is I'm finishing up my, going into my second year now here at LSSC. And I built one with a mitosis lab, and basically had the students, they were doing a hypothetical clinical rotation through a hospital as if they were the doctors, because I have a lot of students being a biomedical science professor that are interested in going in the medical field. So I thought, let's give them a little taste of what to expect, because they love the relevancy behind what they're learning. And that's a big thing with project-based learning, is creating that relevancy. But in this case, they were able to take mitosis and do an oncology rotation at a hospital and get oriented to what it was like to be an oncologist, but at the same time learning about mitosis as if they were doing the oncology rotation for that particular lesson for that day. And I used AI to put it all together. And typically that would have taken me weeks, if not months, to put something like that together. And I did it within a couple days. Just going through and having it all built out. So it's really helped make this a lot more feasible to do. So also creates collaborative inquiry as well. So students are working together, collaborating. This helps a lot with students that you're worried about. Maybe they're using AI too much, or for assessments, you can grade them based on their projects. And that gets to number 3, the public outcomes. So whether they're doing a presentation, developing a prototype or a report or anything like that, typically when they're doing that engaging social aspect of it, yes, they can incorporate AI with it, but they're more or less, they're going to be responsible for having to know the information because they have to present it. They have to develop a project or, a prototype of a particular project or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of hands-on aspects of it too, which the students really like, the instructors really appreciate too. So a lot of cool aspects to project-based learning. So some key features to think about. It's student driven. So basically they're doing the bulk of the learning. You step back and you're more of a facilitator, which is really cool to be as an instructor. You're not sitting there doing all the work and presenting all the information. So for example, when I did my oncology lesson, I said, here's what you got. And I just sat back and let them do all the engaging, all the learning. And I said, let me know if you have questions. I just bounced around the room and I didn't do a lecture for that day, and just basically let them take over and do the learning for themselves. And that's the really cool part about it as well. And that's where a lot of the education is nowadays, is getting them to kind of take ownership of that learning experience. So it's pretty great opportunity for them to do that. So authentic problems as well. You can do real world scenarios or problems that are facing us in society. Research, design, revising, presenting the work as well. So for instance, using research methodology, the scientific method, and basically understanding how research works and going through that process, which is really cool for them to experience and know. Obviously, those of us have been to graduate school know how important that is. So giving them that opportunity to really understand how that all comes together. Also, going back to collaboration, it helps them develop teamwork, working more together, talking with one another, also delegating work for each other, and sharing their ideas, obviously, with each other. So a lot of collaborative and communicative ways that are so important these days. I just went to a conference not that long ago, I think it was last year or the year before, and they were talking about AI, and one of the big things that the Fortune 500 companies are looking for, and one of the big things that kept reiterating was communication skills. So having that ability to communicate, talk to, work in a social groups, etc., was so important. And that's what things they're big things they're looking for with the emergence of AI and AI taking over the tech aspects of things, is that social aspect that's not being addressed as much. So this definitely helps with that too. So going back to why it can matter, workforce alignment. So getting them ready for the relevancy of the particular careers that they're interested in. This goes back to the material that they're being engaged with, like the oncology one I mentioned, where they're interested in doing the medical field. So making it relevant to that particular area of interest. It has them do a lot of critical thinking and long-term knowledge retention, because basically they're having to dive in and think about not just, okay, well, I needed to memorize this, but how does it apply to a real world setting or a scenario, or developing a prototype or whatever the case may be. So also interdisciplinary. This is really cool. You can have it work with different subject areas as well, or pull in different subject areas that might be relevant to this. Like say, for example, Trying to think of a good one that I've done in the past. So like public speaking, so we have like debate. You can incorporate that with a lesson, for example, where I've had a debate class come in and do a scenario where it was related to a court scene, and as a forensic investigator, you may have to present in a court, and so on and so forth. So, relating that to say criminal justice and so on. So there's a lot of interdisciplinary opportunities there as well. It's very transferable, obviously, to careers. You can even have them build resumes or, do something related to a transferable career. Maybe they're going into the nursing department, which, obviously we have a lot of students doing that, and make it relatable so they can use that to, for instance, dive in to learn more about what they're going to be experiencing as nurses down the road, or make them understand more about how the nursing program works per se. So a lot of different ways that you can incorporate that. So in the initial headline there of today's presentation, you'll notice that it did say some research. There is a ton of research out there. I'm just going to throw in a few for today along the way. Here's one, for example, from the International Journal of Educational Research, talking about the benefits of project-based learning in higher education, not just K-12. So you can see here a lot of different key findings that they found from this. So feel free to look that over. They have done quite extensive research on this. Most of the research that I found for you guys is all within the past 5 years alone. And it's just becoming more and more prevalent and more important, I should say, now with the development of AI, to have these communicative type of opportunities for the kiddos in the classroom. All right, and then benefits to students, obviously going back to critical thinking, communication, engagement. So same thing, but that's obviously the benefits to students, benefits for the instructors, creates that dynamic environment, mentorship opportunities. So that's not just with you, but maybe for someone out in the field as well. And it gives you richer assessments to do. You can dive deeper. You can not just you could create rubrics, of course, but you can give a lot more in depth with your evaluation. And you can incorporate multiple ways of evaluating within a particular project, not just one per se. Like say they did a presentation and they turned around and they had to incorporate that into the project that they're doing, and so on and so forth. So there's multiple ways that you can enrich the assessments, not just your standard multiple choice test, for example. All right, so I'm just going to throw out some examples that how this can be incorporated with different fields. We'll start with some STEM courses here to give you guys some ideas about how this can be done. So for example, biology, you can look at collaborative community health solutions, like climate change, something related to say like in Lake County or Claremont or something like that. They can look at say Oakland and the preservation over there. That's really close to the school, or the big lake. I'm trying to remember the lake near the school, something like that. Sustainable projects and engaging with the environment again. Engineering solutions for local issues. That may be something to look into, especially if you're dealing with engineering type of courses, which obviously we have coming down the pike as far as I've heard. So that's another thing to think about. Humanities, I see some faces here that are familiar with this subject area. Anthropology, I know we don't offer that course here, but that's obviously a social science, doing a ethnographic mini project on say a local subculture. You could do digital storytelling with a literature course, collaborative community-based research with sociology. So some other opportunities there to think about. Professional programs, so we have some of these as well. Thanks, Mike. Philosophy. Oof, that'd be well, you can use AI for that one, man. We'll dive into that one. So with your project that you do today, you can see if you can come up with some cool solutions with that one. Business, so we got nursing, business, criminal justice here, some of the ones I mentioned earlier. So you could do a marketing analysis, projects, nursing simulations with potential nurses down the road, or dealing with potential patients, I should say. Criminal justice, policy briefs. You could do like say potential crime scenes, or scenarios dealing with criminal justice, or maybe a court case, stuff like that, like I mentioned earlier. So lots of different things that you can think about. I'm just giving you some examples. There's obviously a ton, and if you use AI, if you're drawing a blank, you're having writer's block, you can always use the AI to help you out, to come up with some ideas relevant to maybe your different subject area. Maybe you got a lesson, you're like, oh man, I don't even have a lab for this. What am I going to come up with? You just spit the idea through Copilot or Gemini or something like that, and see what they come up with. And you can engage with it and see if that does spit out something that's worthwhile. Here's another research that popped up a couple years ago. This is from the Frontiers of Psychology and Study of Impact of Project-Based Learning on Student Learning Effects, a meta-analysis study. They did this for a long term, over 20 years, and found a lot of the same things I've been reiterating here. So improves academic achievement, thinking skills, effective attitudes, very strong in lab-based courses or those hands-on courses. But even if you don't have a lab-based course, you can still incorporate it as a hands-on activity with the examples that I just showed you with the humanities, for example. So also small groups is really important as well, but you don't necessarily have to do that. I've had teams as low as 1, maybe 2 students. So obviously the research is showing that it works best in groups, but you can do pretty small if you want to, or even bigger. So some things to think about when you're designing a PBL experience is, number one, you identify your problem, right? So for example, go into a lesson, say, okay, I got this lesson or I got this problem. How do I make a lesson around it? So that's where you start to develop number 2, the learning goals. What kind of things do you want the students to learn? What kind of things are you thinking about them? What's the ultimate goal as far as the outcome of whatever aspect of what they're trying to teach them? Driving question, so open-ended questions, because then that gets the inquiry right. That's that critical thinking aspect. Plan milestones, so basically checkpoints along the way. So it doesn't have to be like one size fits all. Now, project-based learning, as I'll talk about here in a second, can be very small. You can do it for one lesson, or you can do it over several weeks, or even a month. So, and you could incorporate multiple lessons within that giant project in and of itself. So you could have several chapters within one project and do it that way too. So there's multiple ways of doing this. It doesn't have to be necessarily one size fits all. So there's going to be checkpoints along the way, especially if you're doing a big project like that. And I'll talk about some software you can use for students that are doing big ones like that here in a little bit. Driving questions. So open-ended, challenging, again, goes back to that critical thinking, collaboration, okay? So here's one more piece of research, throwing it out there for you guys. There's, like I said, there's a ton of this out there, but I just wanted to let you know that there is a lot of research that has been done as it relates to higher education. Here's another one, the impact of applied project-based learning on undergraduate student development. And here they found, again, the same thing: critical thinking, teamwork, research skills, academic distinctions, stronger faculty relationships, clear career pathways, and so on and so forth. So yeah, very, very helpful for them, especially looking into those careers, which is really cool because it gives them that perspective of what they're getting into, and it gives them kind of an idea about, hey, oh, this sounds really cool, or that particular field, or maybe it gives them an opportunity to explore different areas of a particular field. Like, I know with biology, a lot of them think, oh, just medicine. So I'm always showing them different perspectives. Like, you don't have to go into medicine. You could do this, you could do that, you could do this. And so, and it opens their eyes like, whoa, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I could do all this as well. And there's all these other careers and opportunities out there. Some scaffolding strategies, you can do mini lectures to incorporate in there. So essential concepts, techniques, so like little tiny lectures per se. Like let's say they come in and you just do a quick 5-minute presentation on what they have to do for the day, something like that, or you chime in 30 minutes into the course and say, hey, okay, so today let's go over this particular concept. We're on step 2, blah blah blah, right? And you just do a quick little mini lecture on whatever topic or subtopic that they're going to go over, just to kind of again facilitate and keep guiding them along the way. Skill building workshops, that's that hands-on sessions. And it could be something really simple, guys. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out to the lab store and spend thousands of dollars on stuff. I've done projects using pipe cleaners and clay and construction paper and crayons. So you can get really simple with this stuff. You don't need to go nuts, and you could use AI to help you out with that too. Say, hey, I got a limited budget, or here's what I want to use with. What can I do with these type of materials, and come up with some cool ideas if you're drawing blanks as well, which we'll again get the opportunity to do here in the next less than 10 minutes. So peer review sessions, so that's where they get the opportunity to provide feedback for their peers, and instructor check-ins where you basically come in and say, hey, is everything going? How can I help out? So on and so forth. So here's some more collaboration structures that you can do as well. So assigning roles. This is really important. So everybody in the team has a role. They each are basically held account to what they have to participate in. That's a big thing with group projects, right? Making sure they're all participating. And you can even self-evaluate each other, which I've noticed works really well. So when they have to evaluate each other and they get graded, so they're all grading each other, then that really helps with keeping them all accountable and making sure they're all on point as well. So they're all basically keeping each other active. Group contracts, shared workspaces, peer evaluations. So there's multiple ways of doing this. And there's multiple ways to assess too. So I mentioned rubrics earlier. You can do, they could do it like a self-assessment, like I mentioned, a peer assessment where they're evaluating each other. So there's multiple ways you can incorporate assessing. You don't necessarily need to do all the work per se, and keep it easy. For example, if they're doing a presentation, make a little checkbox, of certain things they need to get through, and it doesn't need to be overly complicated. So here's some examples, some criteria you can incorporate into a rubric, whether it's the thoroughness or quality of information, creativity, the effectiveness, the final product, how was their presentation skills? That's a big one, right? Were they just mumbling along, staring at the screen the whole time, or are they actually presenting? And this gets them into, again, look at learning how to speak publicly, and gets them that practice for later on when they have to do that kind of stuff. So common challenges, things to think about. Uneven participation with groups, obviously I mentioned that. Open-ended tasks, so unstructured project requirements, making sure they have particular guidelines that they have to abide by. Time management, so project completion dates, say, hey, today we're starting here, this is due Tuesday of next week, and this you have to have everything done. And what I always tell them is, break it down. Here you need to have this by this date, this by this date, this by this date, and it creates that structure. Otherwise, they put everything off to the very end. Even our college students do that, as you guys well know. So time management, very important. Instructor workload, making sure that you are not doing anything, creating too much work for yourself. Again, this is all student driven, and it needs to stay that way. So, and minimize the amount of grading that you need to do because of that. All right, solutions to challenges. So develop clear expectations, what needs to be performed, understand it, keep it simple, guys. That's all my philosophy in teaching has been for many years, the KISS method, right? Keep it simple. So don't make it too complex. Again, those checkpoints, contracts to foster accountability, scaffolding like we talked about earlier. So these are just some solutions to challenges that may arise and that are very common that pop up when you are dealing with these group-related projects. Because I mentioned this before to people in passing about doing project-based learning or group stuff, and they always say, oh, well, that one person just always takes it over. That's not also necessarily have to be that way. If you set it up appropriately, you can make sure that everyone is held accountable. So here's an example timeline that you can incorporate into project-based learning lesson per se. So where they do the introduction, they do the research, the design, and then the presentation. So basically, this is just an idea about how to incorporate that, how that can be developed. And this is a standard format. It doesn't have to be this way, but this is just giving you an overview of sample phases that it can go through when they're developing, this particular project for whatever lesson or multiple lessons that they're learning about. So I mentioned you could do short, you could do very long ones. So I mentioned ethnography earlier. You can do a mini one, a little case study, mini investigations. This doesn't have to be long. You can do this over a course of a day. It doesn't necessarily need to be multiple days or multiple weeks. Like I mentioned with the oncology one with the mitosis lesson that I did with the students last year, that was one day. And then basically they could, whatever they didn't finish, they could take home and work on, because they had a lot of virtual components with that as well. So some things to think about when using PBLs, some software that they can utilize, not just you, but for them as well, especially because they're working in a group. So Google Workspace, using Microsoft 365 to help them collaborate, to help them share documents, right? So using those shared documents on Google, for example. Trello, ClickUp helps them to manage tasks and projects. So for example, doing those, I never say this right, the Gantt charts, I think it's called Gantt charts. So if they're not familiarized with Gantt charts, right, how to develop a Gantt chart. And so they can, know, okay, this part of the project's going to be done here, this part's going to be done on this time, and so on and so forth. And it gives them they get to work with that and understand how that works. So doing these project-based lessons and project-based management type of learning. Also, Canva, Snappa, great for presentations, visuals. Now with AI as well, that could be very helpful for them. But yeah, some great software out there to use, in addition to some of the ones I mentioned earlier. Some possible community engagement projects to consider. I mentioned a couple earlier, but partner with organizations, especially local ones. It's going to make your life a lot easier, especially that we have a hospital like in Claremont nearby. They're right there. So a lot of local businesses. I mentioned Oakland Park, which is not far from the South Lake campus as well. So that's a little preserve there. They're always willing to work with communities. So address their needs. Say, hey, what do you need? What kind of things can we work on? And they're really open about that kind of stuff. So also deliverables, something that that are effective and that are relevant to whatever type of project that you do consider as well. So example, biology PBL project, low cost public health campaign addressing mosquito-borne illnesses by engaging students in research, community interaction, and practicing problem-based techniques. This is be an example of a biology-related one. Anthropology or sociology, you could do a project that examines how local immigrant communities preserve their cultural identity through rituals, performances, fostering understanding and appreciation of diverse traditions within the educational setting. That's another one. So again, just giving you some big picture ideas to think about. Sorry, I'm running out of time, so I'm moving a little bit faster with these. But final takeaways, it helps with obviously deepen the learning, build skill sets, enhance engagement. We talked about a lot of that today. Some other things to consider, basically just reiterating a lot of things I've already gone over really, and that's projects related to their particular field of interest, or in this case, your lesson for whatever subject area that you teach. The challenges that you're going to be faced, we talked about those, needed support. So determine resources that you're going to need in order to make this effective. And now we get into the fun stuff. So we got about 35 seconds left, and now we're going to get into the fun stuff, guys. All right, so let me grab that the guide for you guys real quick. Let me grab that. I'll post it for you here. I can figure out how to do this. You guys know how you post like a document into Teams, into the chat? I know, pretty easy to do with.
You should be able to drag and drop, Professor, right into the chat from wherever your file is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. There's a giant no symbol on it.
There's in the chat box, there's a plus icon. You can also do it that way.
Yeah, I clicked on that. It says search for apps. Get more apps.
That's
why, because I know in I know with not Teams, but the other one, you could do. That's how you do it, right? You click on the little plus symbol. All right, no worries. I could just go ahead and pull it up for you guys. All right, so some things to consider. We got 15 minutes, so start small. You want to offer guidelines that support student learning. All right, clear guidelines. Keep it simple, keep it structured but simple. You want to demonstrate inquiry techniques to inspire student engagement, and also celebrate iteration. So emphasize the value of and learning progress. So give them the opportunity to go back and fix the things that they maybe mess up on. That's completely up to you, of course, but some things that you might want to incorporate here. So identify, draft, and outline. Let me go ahead and grab that document for you here, and I'm gonna post it up on the screen. So give me 1 second. We'll only do PowerPoints. Oh, man. This is totally different in Teams.
Sharing and then reshare with the new chosen thing. That might be what's up.
Stop share, reshare.
Yeah, that might be right.
Mm-mm. I stop sharing. Oh, there it is. Gotcha. Yes. Still won't let me do the PowerPoint. All files. Here we go. Never mind. I got it. All right. Woo. Here. Sorry about that, guys. I was hoping to drop it in the chat like I can with Zoom, but it's not letting me.
Strange that it doesn't allow that, because normally it does. We share files through here all the time.
Really?
Yeah, it's strange. It must be a presentation setup thing. So I don't know where that setting is.
Okay. Well, it's not popping up on my screen either. Aggravating. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see what I can do here.
I think we can see it now.
Can you see okay?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's showing for me at least.
All right. So let's just, can you guys see I'm scrolling through it? All right. Can you guys see that? Yeah. Okay. All right. So go ahead and pick your AI of choice: ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Gronk, whatever it is that you like to use for generative AI. And basically, well, we're going to go through a few steps here, and you guys should be able to incorporate or develop a quick little PBL lesson. So, number one, once you have it ready to rock and roll, define your topic. So some example here, I said I teach Intro to Environmental Science. I want a two-week PBL project about water quality that builds research and data analysis skills. Right. So this is basically developing the prompt of like what you teach, what your goals are, what's the topic. You can even probably mention the textbook. They might even know what that is, just to keep it more relevant, so it knows exactly what you're referring to. If it's able to find it, of course. If not, no worries. But typically, if you keep it within that general framework of whatever topic that you're interested in, it should be fine. All right, go ahead and take 2 minutes to do that. Develop your prompt. Might have to cut some of these back a little bit. Sorry, because I got delayed there. My apologies, guys. But if you're done with that one, you could just go to step 2, which is basically ask AI to generate a PBL project framework. So this is basically where you tell it what you wanted to do next. So create a project-based lesson for my topic, include a driving question, learning outcomes, project steps, deliverables, real-world connections, so on and so forth. And you could say, give me some possible driving questions or learning outcomes. You don't necessarily give me some, or give me a list of some that I can choose from. I'll have the chat up. There we go. Yeah, you're welcome, Michael. Take care. Sorry, that was probably like 5 minutes ago. Sorry, missed you. All right, and then the step 3, guys. Once you're done with step 2, is generate the scaffolding and checkpoints. So a prompt example, you could say add scaffolding activities, weekly checkpoints, mini lessons students will need to complete this project successfully. And it doesn't necessarily need to be these words per se, but if you want to use these just as a example, please do so. And also, make sure you state what it is you want to cover. So if it's a particular lesson or concepts, all those things. You want to make sure you definitely let the AI know all the different areas that you want to go over, or maybe there's a particular thing you have in mind that you want to incorporate, like I mentioned with the oncology thing, or maybe you just need some ideas, right? So you can just say, hey, I need some ideas for this. What you got? So you can do something as simple as that. It really doesn't have to be this complex. I'm just taking you through step by step to develop a full, complete lesson per se, with rubrics and everything, which gets us into step number 4, and that's creating a rubric. So you could say, in that particular prompt, create a rubric for this project with criteria for research quality, collaboration, creativity, application for course concepts, communication, etc. And you could do that for the creating rubrics. So there you go. Don't even have to build your own rubric. I know how much you guys love doing that. I know they're such a pain to develop, but they can be very, if you use AI, it can be, and then you obviously make it very relevant to your lesson, right? So you imagine this used to take weeks, if not months, to put a particular lesson together, doing it the old school way. But with the AI, it's made it a lot easier to do. All right. So how you guys doing? Just checking in. I know we're running out of time. That's why I'm asking. I only got like 4 minutes left. If you have any questions. Yeah, you're welcome, Sybil. No problem. Yeah, math. Oof, that's a big one. Math, you can do a lot of cool stuff with math and make it relevant. Like engineering, for example, aerospace, oof, ballistics with forensics. They love that. So there's a lot of cool opportunities with math. Step number 5, customize and refine. So basically revise the project to better fit a class of 35 students with mixed skill levels, add optional extensions for advanced learners. So, and that's another cool thing you incorporate, because you're going to have students that always fly through it, right? So you can get them to kind of build on what the things that they've done, make it more in depth maybe for them, or something where they could basically feed off of that and go into it a little bit more per se. You're not necessarily giving them extra work to do. You're just making it more in depth for them because they have that deeper level of learning, obviously. So you can incorporate into that in the lesson. All right. And then just got a couple more minutes here, so I'm going to skip down to step 5 and give you guys some example prompts that you can utilize. All right. So these are very simple ones. If you're looking to develop a really simple lesson, like I said, it can be as simple as doing it for one lesson for that week. So here's some examples that you can use for some prompts that you can throw in there. Real world problems, write a driving question that requires sustained inquiry and connects to real world issues, a 2-week PBL project for a particular online course, and then you can just make sure you know what the milestones and deliverables. You could even ask it, what kind of deliverables should I do? You have some ideas? And it'll spit out some ideas, so don't be afraid of it. If you're not sure, ask. That's the cool thing about it. It'll come up with a whole bunch of different ideas for you. You can come up with a group contract template. Say, hey, I need a group contract template for self-assessment or group assessment. Can you put that together for me with the groups of 4 or 2 or 5 or whatever? And it'll do that. So also reflection questions at the end of the project. And like I said, it can put all this together and incorporate one giant massive project for whatever lesson that you're doing, and pretty much do the bulk of the heavy lifting for you guys, so you don't necessarily have to do all this by hand. So one That's pretty much it, guys. I think we're at the end of the lesson, and sorry I wasn't able to put all that together. Just some one more thing to spit out there. With a few well-crafted prompts, you can enrich and design these project-based learning experiences within minutes. And if you want to reach out to me, let me post my contact information there. If you want to get a hold of me, I can always send this to you through email. So let me post my PowerPoint back up here real quick. So sorry for being slow, guys. My apologies. I'm going to just post my contact information, but I'm in the South Health Sciences building and South Lake campus, where all the other offices are. Can never remember my office number, but my email, by the way, is farmsa, pretty simple, farmsa@lssc.edu. And I'm going to post that information here up on the screen here if you need it. There we go. All right. But yeah, thanks for your time, guys. Again, sorry for the little errors there. My apologies, but that's my contact information. If you have any questions or you want to get that handout, shoot me an email and I'll send that to you. But yes, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate your time. Great question, Sybil. So it just depends on you, what you want to do. So you can make this just an actual assignment. I've done whole entire courses where they literally did just 5 projects, like a handful of projects the whole time for the whole course. And that was it. And each project, either you can incorporate multiple grades within it or make it one big grade. Kind of you could do like a scaffolding, where they earn the grades throughout the project as well. So there's multiple ways you can do it. It just depends on what you're looking to do. Maybe you want to have multiple grades. If you just want to have few grading possibilities, it just depends on what you're looking to incorporate.
Okay, so when they're working in groups, you still require that they turn in separate, or does the group turn in one project and everybody kind of gets the same grade?
It just depends on how you want to set it up. So, for example, you can have it set up where it's one giant project, let's say over a course of 2 weeks, and you could have multiple checkpoints where they receive a grade. Let's say 3 days in, they have to reach this checkpoint and they get a grade for that. And then 2 days later or a day later, they have another checkpoint, they get a grade for that. And then it's one giant project per se, but they have multiple grades. Or let's say they do a giant project and maybe they have 2 grades or 1 grade for the whole thing. It's just going to depend on what you do. There's no rule per se of what you have to do. It's really open to how you want to do it, which is so much fun. It gives you all that creativity to just develop it the way you want.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great questions.
Take care.
You too.